The salty spray of the alien ocean stung Captain Jack Steele's eyes as he stood on the rocky shore, surveying the strange new world before him. His sleek starship, the ISS Odyssey, sat perched on a nearby cliff, its silver hull gleaming in the twin suns' light. They had come to this uncharted planet seeking new allies in the ongoing war against the ruthless Krongo Empire. But instead of fearsome warriors, they found only a primitive village, inhabited solely by humanoid females. "Well, ain't this a kick in the head?" Jack muttered, running a hand through his close-cropped blonde hair. "Command's not gonna like this one bit." His second-in-command, a burly Marine named Sergeant Riker, grunted in agreement. "Bunch of dames in grass skirts ain't exactly what I was expecting neither, Cap. The hell we supposed to do now?" Jack sighed, squinting against the glare as he watched a group of the alien women approaching from the village. They were tall and lithe, with shimmering blue skin and long flowing hair in shades of purple and green. Most wore only simple woven garments that left little to the imagination. "Guess we better go say hello," Jack said, straightening his uniform. "Remember, we're representatives of Earth. Best behavior, yeah?" Riker snorted. "No promises, sir. Ain't every day a man gets to chat up a village full of space babes." Jack shot him a warning look as the group of females drew closer, led by one adorned with an elaborate feathered headdress and beaded necklaces. She stopped a few paces away, cocking her head curiously as she studied the human men. "I am Tylaxa, High Priestess of the Orella tribe," she said in accented but understandable English. "What brings you sky travelers to our humble shore?" Jack stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Captain Jack Steele of the Earthship Odyssey, we come in peace, seeking friendship between our peoples." Tylaxa's violet eyes sparkled with amusement. "Friendship, you say? We Orella have a special ritual for welcoming honored guests." She turned to her companions. "Sisters, let us greet them properly." To the human shock, the females all reached down and lifted up their skirts, fully exposing their lower halves. Jack's jaw dropped as he took in the sight of a dozen pert, blue buttocks and glistening slits on display. Beside him, Riker made a strangled choking sound. Tylaxa grinned impishly at their stunned expressions. "Does this gesture of openness please you, Captain? Among the Orella, bearing one's nethers is a sign of utmost trust and hospitality." Jack quickly composed himself, though he could feel his face burning. It's a bit different than what we're used to, but we appreciate the warm welcome. Maybe we could discuss matters further in a more clothed setting?" The priestess laughed, a musical sound as she and the other females lowered their skirts. "But of course. Come, let me show you our village. We have much to talk about." As Jack fell into step beside her, Riker leaned in and muttered, "Lift their dresses? Holy hell, I think I'm gonna like this planet." Jack just shook his head ruefully. First contact with a new species was always a delicate dance, but negotiating with a bunch of half-naked alien hotties? This mission was shaping up to be his greatest challenge yet. He could only pray he and his men maintain their professionalism and their sanity. It was going to be one hell of a wild ride. As Tylaxa led them into the heart of the village, Jack couldn't help but marvel at the strange yet beautiful architecture surrounding them. The Orella dwellings were organic in shape, seeming to grow right out of the lush vegetation, with curved walls woven from living vines and roofs thatched with brilliant flowers. It was like stepping into a psychedelic wonderland. Everywhere he looked, more of the alluring blue-skinned females went about their daily tasks, tending to gardens overflowing with alien produce, weaving intricate tapestries, or practicing sinuous dance moves that made Jack's pulse quicken. And to his consternation, they all seemed to enjoy greeting the human visitors with that same scandalous skirt-lifting ritual. "God damn, it's like a horny sci-fi nerd's wet dream come to life," Riker said under his breath, as yet another giggling Orella flashed her azure ass in their direction. "Think I could get transferred here permanent-like?" "Keep it in your pants, Sergeant," Jack growled. "We're on a diplomatic mission, not a frat party." Though privately, he was finding it increasingly difficult to ignore the stirrings in his own trousers. There was just something about these women, an intoxicating sensuality that threatened to overwhelm his better judgment. Tylaxa glanced back at him with a knowing smirk, as if sensing his inner turmoil. "You seem troubled, Captain. Does our way of life not appeal to you?" Jack cleared his throat awkwardly. "It's very appealing, believe me. Just a lot to take in at once." our cultures are quite different. Perhaps, but are we not all the same in the ways that truly matter? A desire for connection, for joy, for the pleasures of the flesh? She ran a finger down his chest suggestively. He captured her hand, trying to ignore the electric tingle her touch ignited. Look, your hotness, your holiness. I'm flattered, but we need to focus on the bigger picture here. The threat of the Krongos. Tylaxa waved dismissively. Always so serious, you humans. You must learn to live in the moment. She led them into the largest structure in the village, a soaring cathedral of twisted branches and luminous petals. Inside, plush cushions were scattered about the mossy floor, and the air was thick with the heady scent of alien incense. Dozens more Orella females reclined languorously about, in even less clothing than their outdoor counterparts. Jack's head swam as he struggled to process the blatant eroticism on display. This was a holy temple of some kind, more like an interstellar bordello. Tylaxa gestured for them to sit as she draped herself across a pile of cushions, her skirt riding up to reveal a tantalizing expanse of cobalt thigh. Welcome to the Temple of Saiba, sacred space of our goddess of love. Here we explore the heights of pleasure and the depths of passion in all their myriad forms. Perhaps you would care for a demonstration? Riker started choking again, and even Jack felt his mouth go dry. I don't think that will be necessary, he managed. We wouldn't want to offend your goddess with our bumbling human ways. Nonsense. Saiba delights in all acts of love, no matter how fumbling. Tylaxa beckoned to a group of priestesses. Sisters, let us show these men how the Orella worship. What followed was a mind-blowing spectacle of sensual acrobatics that left Jack simultaneously aroused, terrified, and questioning his entire belief system. He averted his eyes from the writhing piles of blue flesh, desperately seeking something, anything else to focus on. His gaze landed on an enormous crystalline statue in the center of the temple, depicting a stunningly beautiful Orella female with an equally huge phallus jutting proudly from between her legs. Jack blinked, wondering if the incense was making him hallucinate. Nope, that was definitely a giant alien Fuda goddess. Tylaxa noticed his stare and grinned. Ah, you have noticed the avatar of Saiba. Impressive, is she not? The legends say that one day the goddess herself will take on flesh to lead us into a new age of pleasure and enlightenment. Jack's brain short-circuited as he tried to imagine the anatomical logistics involved, and he thought human women were complicated. He needed to get out of here before this planet of insatiable dick girls made him completely lose his mind. He stood up abruptly, nearly tripping over a couple of enthusiastically copulating priestesses. This has been very educational, but I just remembered we have some, urgent ship repairs to attend to. Right, Sergeant Riker? Riker, who had been openly ogling the orgy with a blissed-out expression, blinked dazedly. Huh? Oh, right. Them engines ain't gonna recalibrate themselves. Tylaxa pouted fetchingly as she also rose. Must you leave so soon? We have only begun to explore the depths of interspecies communion. I'm sure we'll have plenty of chances to commune later, Jack said, edging towards the door. For now, duty calls, but we look forward to further cultural exchange. As do I, Captain. I sense great potential in you. Her eyes gleamed with unnerving intensity. Potential to embrace your primal nature, to cast off the shackles of your inhibitions. The Orella can guide you to heights of ecstasy you have never dreamed possible. Jack suppressed a shudder, both of fear and forbidden excitement. He had a feeling that cultural exchange with these insatiable space nymphas was going to be the death of him. But what a way to go. Beating a hasty retreat back to the Odyssey with a dazed Riker in tow. Jack tried to collect his racing thoughts. They still needed to find some way to secure the Orella's aid against the Krongos. But if he had to sit through one more softcore alien porn show, his tool was liable to stage a mutiny. He could only hope that beneath all the sexual shenanigans, Tylaxa and her people had more to offer than just boobs and blue booty. As the ship's airlock sealed shut behind them with a reassuring clang, Jack leaned against the wall and let out a shaky breath. Jesus, Murphy. Never thought I'd be so glad to get away from a planet full of hot alien chicks. Riker just grinned stupidly. I don't know, Cap. I could stand to study their culture a bit more in depth, if you know what I mean. Shut up, Riker. Let's just try to salvage this mission before we completely torpedo Earth's reputation as a species of drooling space perverts. But even as he said it, Jack knew it was going to be an uphill battle. The siren song of Orella Pussy would not be easily ignored. God help them all. Back aboard the Odyssey, Jack paced restlessly in his quarters, trying to banish the distracting memories of undulating blue flesh from his mind. He needed to focus on the mission, damn it. The fate of the galaxy could very well rest on his ability to secure the Orella's cooperation. A chime from his door panel interrupted his brooding. "Enter," he barked. The door slid open to reveal the ship's chief science officer, a lanky, bespectacled man named Dr. Cornelius Quark. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data we collected on the Orella, and I believe I've uncovered some fascinating insights into their biology and culture." Jack waved him on impatiently. "Let's hear it, Doc, and please spare me the lurid details." "I've seen more than enough of their culture to last a lifetime." Quark adjusted his glasses, oblivious to the captain's sarcasm. "Well, for starters, the Orella appear to be a monogendered species, reproducing through a form of parthenogenesis. That statue in the temple, it's not just symbolic. They literally all possess fully functional male and female reproductive organs." Jack's mind boggled at the implications. No wonder they were so obsessed with sex. They could literally go fuck themselves. "Fascinating," he said dryly. "But how does that help us convince them to join our cause?" "Ah, that's where it gets interesting," Quark said, warming to his topic. "You see, the Orella's unique physiology grants them heightened empathic abilities. They can sense emotions, even project them to a degree, and they express those emotions primarily through sexual activity. So basically, they're a bunch of horny space hippies with mind powers," Jack said, rubbing his temples. "Great. Just great. Don't you see, Captain? Their entire society revolves around the pursuit of emotional and physical harmony. War, conflict, negativity of any kind, it's completely antithetical to their worldview. If we want their help, we need to appeal to their, baser instincts." Jack stared at him incredulously. "Are you seriously suggesting that I need to seduce the blue space babes to get them on our side?" Quark shrugged. "I believe the technical term is sexual diplomacy. It's not unprecedented in first contact situations." "Sexual diplomacy," Jack repeated, shaking his head. "I joined Starfleet to explore the universe, not star in a goddamn porno." Just then the comm panel on his desk beeped urgently. "Bridge to Captain Steele," came the voice of his helmsman, Lieutenant Zach Brannigan. "We've got an incoming transmission from the planet's surface. It's High Priestess Talaxa, and she's requesting to come aboard." Jack's stomach did a little flip-flop at the mention of the beguiling alien temptress. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Permission granted. Have her escorted to the main conference room, and tell her to keep her damn skirt down this time." He turned back to Quark, who was failing to hide a smirk. "Not a word of this to anyone. Understand? The last thing I need is the whole crew thinking their captain is some kind of intergalactic gigolo." "My lips are sealed, sir," Quark said, miming a zipping motion. "But for what it's worth, I think you're uniquely qualified for this particular assignment." "Godspeed, Captain." With that, the scientist beat a hasty retreat, leaving Jack to stew in a mixture of anticipation and dread. He had faced down bloodthirsty Krongo berserkers, navigated black holes, and even survived his ex-wife's cooking. But the prospect of tangling with the Orella's sensual wiles made him feel like a green cadet all over again. Squaring his shoulders, he marched out of his quarters and towards the conference room, determined to face this challenge head-on. He was Captain Jack fucking Steele, damn it. He'd bang out a peace treaty with these blue beauties if it was the last thing he did. The galaxy was counting on him to keep a level head, no matter how much other parts of his anatomy might misbehave. As the conference room doors whooshed open, revealing Tylaxa's lush curves and come-hither smile, Jack sent up a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening. He had a feeling he was going to need all the divine intervention he could get to make it through this mission with his sanity and his pants intact. "Captain Steele, thank you for receiving me," Tylaxa purred as Jack entered the conference room, her violet eyes smoldering with barely contained desire. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything pressing." The double entendre was not lost on Jack, who felt his uniform collar suddenly grow tight. "Not at all, High Priestess. I'm always happy to entertain visitors from the planet's surface." He gestured for her to take a seat at the sleek, chrome table, trying not to ogle the way her skirt rode up as she crossed her legs. "Please, call me Tylaxa," she said, leaning forward to give him an ample view of her cleavage. I have a feeling we're going to be very close friends, you and I. Jack swallowed hard, his mind racing with all sorts of inappropriate scenarios involving Tylaxa, the conference table, and a tub of Orella body butter. Focus, Steele, the mission. He cleared his throat, assuming his most professional tone. I'm certainly open to fostering a spirit of cooperation between our peoples. What can I do for you, Tylaxa? She licked her lips, a gesture that sent a jolt of electricity straight to Jack's groin. I was hoping we could discuss the terms of our alliance in a more intimate setting. Perhaps your private quarters? Alarm bells went off in Jack's head. Alone with this insatiable sex pot? He'd be lucky to escape with his virtue intact, but he couldn't afford to offend her, not when so much was at stake. I'm flattered by your offer, he said carefully, but I wouldn't feel right taking advantage of your hospitality. As the captain, I have to maintain a certain level of decorum. Tylaxa pouted, her full blue lips glistening invitingly. But Captain, among my people, physical intimacy is the highest form of diplomacy. To refuse my advances is to reject our friendship. Jack's resolve wavered as he imagined those lips wrapped around his communicator. Damn it, why did she have to be so irresistible? It wasn't fair. Just as he was about to throw caution and his pants to the wind, the ship's comm system crackled to life. Red alert! All hands to battle stations. Krongo warships detected on long-range sensors. Jack leaped to his feet, simultaneously relieved and frustrated by the interruption. Duty calls, I'm afraid. We'll have to continue this discussion later. Tylaxa rose as well, her expression shifting from seductive to concerned. The Krongos? Here? But why? If I had to guess, they're after your planet's dilithium deposits, Jack said grimly. They've been raiding every mining colony in the sector. Dilithium? What is this dilithium you speak of? Jack blinked, momentarily thrown. You know, the crystalline mineral that powers warp drives? The stuff that's rarer than a Vulcan's smile? Don't tell me you've never heard of it. Tylaxa shook her head, bemused. I'm afraid not, Captain. Our civilization has little use for such things. We are a people of simple pleasures. Simple pleasures, right? Jack muttered, trying not to think about the decidedly unsimple things he'd witnessed in the Temple of Saiba. Well, trust me, the Krongos are definitely interested in your world's resources, and they won't hesitate to enslave or destroy your people to get them. Tylaxa's eyes widened in horror. Enslave us? Destroy us? But we are a peaceful people. We have no weapons, no armies. How can we possibly defend ourselves against such monsters? Jack grasped her shoulders, looking deep into her frightened eyes. That's what we're here for, Tylaxa. The Odyssey is one of the most advanced ships in the galaxy. We'll protect you and your people. I swear it. She searched his face, her expression softening into one of trust and gratitude. Thank you, Captain. I knew from the moment I saw you that you were a man of honor and courage, a true hero. Her words sent a flush of pride and something else through Jack's body. Damn, but he wanted to live up to that image she had of him. He wanted to sweep her into his arms, to claim her luscious blue lips with his own, to show her just how heroic he could be. The deck shuddered beneath their feet as the first volley of Krongo photon torpedoes slammed into the Odyssey's shields. The red alert klaxons blared even louder, jolting Jack back to reality. He couldn't afford to get distracted. Not now. The lives of his crew and the entire Orella race were depending on him. Giving Tylaxa's shoulders one last reassuring squeeze, he turned and sprinted for the door. Get to the escape pods. If the worst happens, you'll be the last hope for your people. I'll hold off the Krongos as long as I can. Wait, she called after him. Let me fight beside you. I can help. Jack paused, looking back at her with a mixture of admiration and exasperation. Damn it, woman, I'm trying to keep you safe. The best thing you can do is stay out of harm's way. Tylaxa lifted her chin defiantly, and in that moment, Jack saw a glimpse of the warrior queen she might have been in another life. I am the high priestess of the Orella. My people need me now more than ever. I will not cower in an escape pod while you risk your life for us. Jack hesitated, torn between his duty as a captain and his growing feelings for this maddening, magnificent female. But another bone-jarring impact made the decision for him. Fine, but stay behind me, and for God's sake, keep your clothes on. Together they raced towards the bridge, ready to face the Krongo menace head-on. Jack's heart pounded with a heady mixture of adrenaline, fear, and something dangerously close to love. He had a feeling this was going to be the fight of his life, in more ways than one. The bridge was a scene of controlled chaos as Jack and Tylaxa burst through the doors. Crew members scrambled to their stations, shouting status reports and damage assessments over the din of the red alert sirens. On the view screen, a fleet of menacing Krungo warships loomed, their jagged silhouettes bristling with weapons. "Report!" Jack barked, taking his seat in the captain's chair. Lieutenant Brannigan's fingers flew over their helm controls, his face pale but determined. "Shields at 60%, Captain. The Krongos are hitting us with everything they've got. Return fire, all phasers," Jack commanded. "Target their weapon systems and engines." The Odyssey shuddered as a barrage of phaser beams lanced out towards the enemy ships, scoring direct hits. But the Krongos kept coming, their own weapons pounding relentlessly against the weakening shields. Tylaxa gripped the back of Jack's chair, her eyes wide with fear and awe as she watched the brutal space battle unfold. "I've never seen anything like this," she breathed. "Such power, such destruction." "Welcome to the wonderful world of interstellar warfare," Jack said grimly. "It's not all sexy blue aliens and mind-blowing orgies out here." Suddenly, the ship lurched violently as a massive explosion rocked the bridge. Consoles erupted in showers of sparks, and crew members were thrown from their seats. Jack clung to the armrests, gritting his teeth against the bone-jarring impact. "Hull breach on decks 12 through 15, Lieutenant Commander Ramirez shouted from the tactical station. "Emergency force fields are holding, but we can't take much more of this." Jack's mind raced, desperately searching for a solution. The Odyssey was a tough ship, but even she couldn't withstand the full might of a Krongo battle fleet. They needed an edge, something to turn the tide. His gaze fell on Tylaxa, who was picking herself up off the deck, her skirt torn and her hair disheveled. Despite the dire situation, Jack couldn't help but admire the way she carried herself with such grace and strength. And then it hit him. "Tylaxa," he called over the chaos. "You said your people have empathic abilities, right? That you can sense and project emotions?" She nodded, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Yes, but I don't see how that helps us now." Jack's eyes gleamed with a desperate, crazy hope. "I need you to focus on the Krongos. Project every ounce of love, compassion, and peace you can muster. Make them feel the joy and harmony of the Orella way of life." Tylaxa stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "You want me to love the Krongos? Are you insane?" "Quite possibly," Jack admitted. "But right now it's our only chance. If we can disrupt their aggression, even for a moment, it might give us the opening we need." The deck shook again, more violently this time. Tylaxa stumbled, and Jack caught her in his arms, pulling her close. "Please," he whispered, his lips brushing her ear. "I know it's asking the impossible, but I believe in you, Tylaxa. You're the strongest, most amazing woman I've ever met." She shivered at his touch, her resolve crumbling. I'll try. For you, Jack." Closing her eyes, Tylaxa took a deep breath, reaching out with her mind across the vast expanse of space. She pictured the Krongos, their reptilian faces twisted with hate and rage, and then she let the love flow. She thought of her people, of their simple, joyful lives. She thought of the beauty of her planet, the lush forests and crystal-clear waters. She thought of the ecstasy of the temple, the divine bliss of Saiba's embrace. And most of all, she thought of Jack, his courage, his integrity, his undeniable sexiness. A wave of pure, unadulterated affection surged out from Tylaxa's mind, washing over the Krongo fleet like a tsunami of good vibes. For a moment, nothing happened. And then, "Captain, look!" Brannigan exclaimed, pointing at the view screen. "The Krongos! They're breaking formation!" Jack watched in amazement as the enemy ships began to drift aimlessly, their weapons falling silent. On the screen, the image of the Krongo commander appeared, his lizard-like features slack with confusion. What is happening?" The Krongo slurred, his words thick and clumsy. "I feel strange, like I want to hug someone." All across the bridge, the crew of the Odyssey burst into relieved laughter and cheers. They'd done it. Against all odds, they'd beaten back the Krongo threat with the power of love. Jack turned to Tylaxa, his heart swelling with pride and admiration. "You did it," he said softly. cupping her face in his hands. "You beautiful, brilliant, blue goddess. You saved us all." Tears of joy streamed down Tylax's cheeks as she leaned into his touch. "No, Jack, we did it. Together." And then in front of the entire bridge crew, she grabbed him by the collar and pulled him into a searing, passionate kiss. Jack's mind went blank as he lost himself in the taste of her, the feel of her lithe body pressed against his. Nothing else mattered. Not the Krongos, not the mission, not the fate of the galaxy. All that existed was this perfect, shining moment of love and victory. When they finally broke apart, breathless and flushed, the bridge erupted in a standing ovation. Wolf whistles and applause echoed off the bulkheads as the crew celebrated their captain's epic space romance. Jack grinned sheepishly, running a hand through his hair. All right, show's over. Back to your stations, people. We've still got a planet to save and a peace treaty to negotiate." But as he settled back into his chair, Tylaxa perched proudly at his side. He couldn't wipe the dopey smile from his face. For the first time in his long and lonely Starfleet career, Captain Jack Steele felt truly complete. He'd found his missing piece in the most unexpected of places, a planet of sex-crazed blue bombshells with a penchant for flashing. And you know what? He wouldn't have it any other way. The celebration on Orella was unlike anything Jack had ever experienced. The normally peaceful village had erupted into a raucous festival of music, dance, and of course, copious amounts of enthusiastic lovemaking. Everywhere he looked, blue-skinned beauties twirled and gyrated, their skirts flying high to reveal tantalizing glimpses of azure flesh. At the center of it all was Tylaxa, resplendent in a shimmering gown that left very little to the imagination. She moved the crowd like a goddess, bestowing kisses and caresses on her adoring subjects. Jack couldn't take his eyes off her, his heart pounding with a fierce mixture of love and desire. As if sensing his gaze, Tylaxa turned and beckoned to him with a crooked finger. "Come, my brave captain," she purred. "Let us retire to someplace more private." Jack didn't need to be told twice. Hand in hand, they slipped away from the revelry, ducking into Tylaxa's opulent temple quarters. The air was thick with the heady scent of incense and pheromones, and the plush cushions scattered about the floor practically begged to be defiled. "So," Tylaxa said, draping her arms around Jack's neck, "now that we've saved my planet and defeated the Krongos, whatever shall we do with ourselves?" Jack grinned, his hands roaming the silky expanse of her back. "I can think of a few ideas, but are you sure you're ready for the full Steel experience? I've been told it can be quite overwhelming." Tylaxa laughed, a throaty, sensual sound that sent shivers down Jack's spine. "Oh, Captain, you have no idea what you're in for. We Orella have forgotten more about the arts of love than most species will ever know." With that, she shoved him backwards onto the cushions and straddled his hips, her skirt riding up to reveal the tantalizing juncture of her thighs. Jack's breath caught as she ground against him, her heat and wetness apparent even through his uniform trousers. "I hope your legendary stamina extends to matters of the bedroom," Tylaxa whispered, her nimble fingers making quick work of his jacket and shirt, "because I intend to ride you like a prized stallion." Jack surged up to capture her lips in a bruising kiss, his tongue delving deep to taste her honeyed mouth. "Darling, you have no idea what you're unleashing," he growled against her skin. "I'm going to make you scream my name to the stars themselves." Tylaxa shuddered in his arms, her nails raking down his chest. Promises, she gasped. "Shut up and fuck me already, you magnificent human specimen." Jack was only too happy to comply. In a flurry of groping hands and tearing fabric, they divested each other of their remaining clothing, baring their bodies to the warm, fragrant air. Tylaxa's skin was like polished sapphire, smooth and flawless and begging to be worshipped. Jack set about doing just that, his lips and tongue mapping every inch of her alien curves. He paid special attention to her breasts, laving the indigo nipples until they pebbled tightly against his tongue. Tylaxa mewled and thrashed, her back arching as he suckled and nipped at the sensitive buds. "Yes, Jack, yes," she chanted, her fingers tangling in his hair. "More, please. I need more." Never one to leave a lady wanting, Jack trailed his kisses lower, over the taut plane of her stomach, and down to the glistening folds of her sex. She was already soaked and swollen, her juices painting her thighs with shimmering streaks of cobalt. The scent of her arousal was dizzying, an intoxicating musk that made Jack's head spin and his dignity throb. Slowly, reverently, he parted her with his fingers and dragged his tongue through her slick folds, savoring the taste of her. Tylaxa keened high in her throat, her hips bucking frantically against his face as he lapped and probed at her most intimate places. He focused his attentions on the throbbing bud of her pearl, flicking and circling it until she was a writhing, babbling mess. "Jack, please," she sobbed, her thighs clamping around his ears. "I can't. I need... Oh, fuck, I need you inside me." He couldn't resist such a heartfelt plea. With a final lingering lick, Jack surged up the length of her body and positioned himself at her entrance. Their eyes locked, electric blue on smoldering amber, as he slowly, carefully sheathed himself in her welcoming heat. They both groaned at the exquisite sensation, their bodies joining as if they'd been made for each other. Jack had never felt anything so perfect, so right. It was like coming home after a long, lonely journey, like finding the missing piece of his soul. He began to move, long, deep strokes that stoked the fire building between them. Tylaxa matched him, thrust for thrust, her hips rolling and undulating in a sinuous dance as old as time itself. They rocked together in perfect harmony, their pleasure building and cresting like the great waves that crashed upon the shores of Orella. "Harder!" Tylaxa demanded, her nails scoring his back. "Fuck me harder, you gorgeous human stud!" Jack obliged with gusto, pounding into her with all the strength and passion he possessed. The temple echoed with the slap of flesh on flesh and the wanton moans of their coupling. Sweat slicked their straining bodies as they chased their mutual completion, hurtling towards the edge of oblivion. Tylaxa came first, her inner muscles clamping down on Jack's pistoning dignity as she wailed her ecstasy to the heavens. The rippling, fluttering sensation was too much for Jack to withstand, and with a hoarse shout, he followed her over the precipice, spilling his seed deep within her quivering depths. They collapsed into a tangle of heaving limbs and racing hearts, utterly spent and sated. For a long moment, they simply clung to each other, basking in the afterglow of their lovemaking. "That was," Tylaxa panted, nuzzling into the crook of Jack's neck. "Incredible," he finished, pressing a tender kiss to her forehead. "You're incredible, Tylaxa. I've never felt anything like that before." She smiled up at him, her eyes soft and luminous in the candlelight. "Nor have I, my love. You've ruined me for all other males, in this galaxy or any other." Jack chuckled, hugging her close. "Well, I suppose I'll just have to stick around then. Can't have the High Priestess going unsatisfied. Now can we?" Tylaxa grinned, a wicked gleam entering her gaze. "Oh, I have a feeling we'll never run out of ways to satisfy each other, Jack. After all, we have a lifetime to explore the depths of our passion." And explore they did, long into the night and for many nights to come. The legend of Captain Jack Steele and his blue alien sex pot spread far and wide, inspiring generations of lonely spacemen to seek love and adventure among the stars. But that, dear reader, is a story for another time. For now, we'll leave our heroes as we found them, naked, sated, and head over heels in love. Because in the end, is there anything more beautiful than two souls coming together in perfect, harmonious, orgasmic union? We think not, and so with a wink and a smile, we bid you adieu. May your own journeys be filled with laughter, love, and plenty of sexy blue aliens.